It's quite easy to miss what opens the environment for this especially powerful day. It happens a little while just before John is going to be arrested and unfortunately killed. The scene is baptism heavy when it says, when all the people were baptized. But the baptism is really the backdrop. The real focus of the text is in these words in verse 21 when it says, Jesus was also baptized, and while he prayed. Before Jesus prayed, it was just another baptism, with a lot of people being submerged in the waters of conversion, prayerfully lifted to a life chasing the ultimate will of God. But when Jesus prayed, this baptism turned into the crashing in of God's expressed presence, showing up in the form like a dove, and a voice being heard announcing and validating Jesus as the visible expression of God in the earth. The Spirit had not descended while the people were being baptized, but when Jesus started praying, the text says the heavens were opened. And the Spirit descended in the form like a dove, and a voice from the heavens being opened said, "You are my beloved Son. In you I am well pleased." Now this suggests to us, Mount Ararat, that what opened the heavens was not the baptism. There had been countless baptisms. But what opened the heavens was the prayer. And I begin the sermon this way because in my estimation, prayer is the big forgotten for many of us. When facing life and fighting challenges and searching for answers and managing change, when confronted with the unexpected and facing the incalculable, it is all too easily forgotten that one prayer can open a heavens full of options. Do you know that one prayer can open up answers and clarity and strength and power? So for the second week, I focus us again on the privilege, the discipline, the power, and the efficacy of prayer. Because in my estimation, you are only as strong as your prayer life. And the image that I want to burn in your consciousness this weekend is your prayers stand you under an open heaven. Can you imagine that? Heaven opens when you pray. That image makes me accept that my prayers open for me an eternal access that addresses all of my temporal needs. I'll keep repeating it. You'll hear it until you're probably sickened of it today. When you pray, heaven opens. All of its power, eternal strength, angelic assistance, divine protection, its flowing grace, its unimaginable favor, its indispensable mercy. It is all available to you when you pray, because when you pray, heaven opens. Heaven opened because you prayed, and now it brings to your life the manifest presence of Christ, who is present to respond to the content of your very prayers. C.S. Lewis said wisely, if you aim at heaven, you'll get earth thrown in. But if you only aim at earth, you'll get neither. And Jesus demonstrated that what opens heaven and clears barriers is prayer. And with all that life is throwing at us, and might we all confess, life is throwing a lot at us, isn't it? With its stressors and demands, our inner wrestlings and external fears, the hard emotions that get quite fatigued when people in the prime of life are cut down, clutching tightly to a 13-year-old gift whose life is being cut away way too soon. Watching the pain that life brings to others and the way others are managing or mismanaging life. And the only hope for us to stay strong and to keep pressing is to know that support and strength and answers and revelation are available to us coming from an open heaven, accessed by the discipline of prayer. In fact, here is the good news. In Jesus, you and I, through prayer, exists in a perpetual open heaven. Because you are, Paul says, seated in heavenly places. So your prayers are never bouncing off the ceiling. Your prayers are never falling flat the ground. Whenever you pray, your prayers are ascending from your heart, your will, your mind to the very throne of God. Why? Because when you pray, heaven opens and your prayers reach the heart of God. The stronger your relationship with Christ creates the ease with which you access the openness of heaven. And I start this sermon this weekend this way because I want you to govern your life, moving through life convicted about living your life within an open heaven. Worship your God. Make no mistake about that. Share the gospel. Live your life. Pay your bills. Have your family time. All with an understanding that you live under an open heaven, not closed, only open to a selective few. This open heaven is not blocked by human demands. It cannot be preempted by human manipulation. There are no precursors to entrance and access. You don't have to be totally perfect in order to access this open heaven. You do have to believe in Jesus, and you do have to believe in prayer. You do have to believe that when it comes from your mouth, it goes to God's ears. It bypasses Jesus, who is seated at the right hand of the Father. Scripture says, making intercession for the saints. If you need God, can I tell you today, whenever you need him, wherever you need him, however you need him, God is always available if you trust him in prayer, because when you pray, heaven opens. And this means all of heaven is backing you up as you serve the ultimate will of God. His angels are working with you, through you, on your behalf, that you don't only have access to the throne of God by and through the work of Christ, but you actually live from that place. Here's your theological disclosure. We don't live towards heaven from earth. We live from heaven while walking through earth. Why does God give us an open heaven? Well, this text teaches us one salient point. I'm not going to strain any others, because the one point is enough to shape and form the entirety of our spiritual lives. This text teaches heaven opens to confirm your call, and heaven opens to confirm your mission. Let me say it again. Heaven opens to confirm your, and heaven opens to confirm your. If you ever want to know what brings clarity to your life, if you're like me, having to walk through seasons where you ask these questions: how do I know what I'm supposed to do? And how do I know if this is what I'm supposed to do, that this is the time I'm supposed to do it? Where am I supposed to be, and who am I supposed to be connected to? Well, clarity is always married to an understanding of your call and your mission. I don't care what you're good at doing. I want to know what you're called to do. Because you can be good at doing a whole lot of things, much of which you're not called to do, which could mean you are bringing a whole lot of talents to the wrong place. You want to be where God has called you, and you want to spend your life manifesting the mission to which God has attached you. And your understanding of your call and your surrender to your mission brings clarity to your life. This is how you know what to say yes to and what to say no to. This is how you know what to make an urgent or what to put on a future wish list. This is how you know who needs to be connected and for how long, because everybody connected is not connected for a lifetime. Some are connected for a season, and when the season is over, you got to move on. Am I talking to anybody in here? Some places are great places, but they're not your permanent place. They are your pass-through place. And you got to know when you're comfortable in a place, and yet the eagle is stirred from its nest, because you can't always equate God's will to where you are comfortable. Sometimes when God is ready to move you to the place of your mission, he's got to make you uncomfortable in the places where you are, which means some stuff that used to work ain't gonna work for long if it's not where you're permanently supposed to be, because you don't know who you are until you can say, I am called to be this, and my mission is to do that. Until then, or unless then, you are confused. And what happens when confusion clothes itself on us is we start to force placement and mistakenly discern participation operating outside the orbit of our call. This text suggests that some of us can make the greatest leaps in our lives when we remove what I want to call this weekend confusing ambiguities. Everybody say confusing ambiguities. Now, by ambiguity, I mean that we live with different interpretations about the same thing. Where 1 minute you can feel one way about something, and the next minute feel something different about it. Knowing clearly what I think I should be doing, and then the next minute feeling the same way about something else. God did not save us to live bowing at the altar of confusion. God doesn't want you as a disciple of ambiguity. Are y'all listening to me? Where you've got different interpretations about the same thing. No, if I know Jesus, I want to be clear. I want to know his will. I don't want to be confused. I need to hear from God. And these ambiguities, if you're not careful, will have you going around making big leaps on cloudy assumptions, hopeful ambitions, needy desires. The scariest thing to me is to think that I could be making a life crucial decision standing on a weak platform of emotional ambiguity. I think, but I don't quite know. I feel kind of like I should, but I can't be sure. Well, if you're like me, I love my life too much to risk my life to confusion and ambiguity. And why should I when I serve a God who is eternal, who knows my thoughts from afar? Come on, y'all help me. Why should I when I am in relationship with a God who is at my end and at my beginning and at my right now? Why should I walk around confused when I serve a God who is omniscient, which means anything that can ever be known, he already knows it? So my job is not to bow at the altar of ambiguity. My job is to know when I'm confused and I don't know which way to go, to find me some praying ground, fold my hands, bow my head, and ask God to lead me, guide me along the way. For if you lead me, I will not stray. Do I have any company in this room? I need certainty. And that's the reason I'm praying to God, because I know he knows exactly what decision I need to make. He knows what direction I need to go in and the perfect timing at which I need to move. So I'm going to take full advantage of removing any and all ambiguities and barriers, and I'm going to put myself in the space of spiritual sensitivity to an open heaven, and I'll ask God. Can I tell you why I want to encourage y'all to beef up your prayer lives?